You're listening to the Player Issue Podcast. Here's your host, Aaron Warwick.
G'day everybody and welcome to episode 29 of the Player Issue Podcast. Good to have you back with us. Been about 3 weeks since the last episode now, so not too bad considering our recent track record. But it's good to be back. Another great interview for you today. We had him on previously on the show. If you've been a long-time listener, back in 2019, then you would have known the great man's voice, Craig Evans. Not only does he have a fantastic voice, but he actually works at the Fremantle Dockers Football Club. So our chat today with Craig follows a lot of what happened following on from 2019 in his previous two episodes. So he had part 1 and part 2 in October of 2019. And since then, he's obviously had a lot happen, especially in the world of COVID. So we get to hear all these stories about what happened during COVID and what goes on behind the scenes at the Freo Football Club, and no doubt would have happened at every other club as well. So yeah, it's a really good insight into what happened. It's actually a very emotional chat. So yeah, I quite enjoyed it, and listening back to it, I loved it. No doubt, I've said that every time. However, yeah, this is just one of those episodes that I really enjoyed listening back to, and the emotional side of it, I really, really enjoyed. Really hope you do as well. I realise it is another Fremantle-based episode. However, there's no doubt that the content and the subject that we follow and have a chat about, without a doubt, the other clubs would have had very, very similar views, and definitely would have gone through very, very similar things to what Craig did throughout 2020 and into 2021. So, very important chat. I think really good, really important for everybody to hear it, and just see what it was like for people inside the clubs. And obviously, for those of us who had a cushy job, or a lot of us went into lockdown, especially you folks over there in Melbourne and Sydney, obviously still doing it very tough. So you can definitely relate to what Craig went through in 2020. So don't want to give away too much because it is a really good chat. And of course, we do talk a fair bit about footy jumpers as well. He will talk about auctions, and you want to have a listen to the end of the chat if you would like to know anything about the upcoming Fremantle sale, and of course, the retro jumpers as well. So make sure you listen to the very end of the interview, or preferably listen to the whole show, because I do continue rambling on after the interview. I will do a close for you very shortly. We'll just have a chat as we usually do, and then we'll close it off. But we'll have a quick chat before we get into the interview with Craig. First thing I want to just cover real fast is I don't really want to mention his podcast or his video cast podcast. I don't know what you would really call it, but his YouTube channel anyway. Mr. Exclusive, or the Gretch. I'm just not going to mention his podcast. So sure, you'll know who I'm talking about. He has featured on the show before. Funny story, actually. He was having a real good whinge this week on his Facebook page about AFL football players or ex-football players no longer contacting him or responding to his messages about wanting to come on his show. I think that's just hilarious. So, yeah, as I mentioned previously, there's a very good reason why these people who are high up in the media or in the football clubs don't want to have a chat with you, Mr. Coops. So give up. But we're going to have a listen to his latest episode. I just had a quick skim through YouTube just before I jumped on here. I saw his latest thing come up, and I don't really want to listen. I don't want to give him the downloads, but it's just so cringeworthy. I just can't help it, which no doubt most of his listeners actually do the same thing. But anyway, so he was having a good old yarn and a whinge about a few things, and he brought up the Western Bulldogs having a good time after the prelim. So let's have a listen to what he reckons about the Western Bulldogs and what happened after their win on Saturday night.
Shown that. So, Scotty, lift your game. And the Bulldogs, now, they may be progressing to the grand final next week against the Melbourne Footy Club. But after the win, a good win against the Power in Adelaide, they were carrying on, drinking, dancing after winning the prelim. Now, personally, I don't like any club doing that. So when people say, oh, St Kilda done it, you would be okay with it. No, I wouldn't. Especially after a prelim. Did they win the granny already? Have they? And even if they do end up winning the grand final, to do that in a prelim, I think, is arrogance. I didn't see Max Gore and Clayton Oliver and Simon Goodwin say no. Then keep things low, do what they've been doing, and hopefully it can progress next week. Now, going by that, they're doing the right thing. What I feel is the respectable thing. They weren't carrying on up to spanking Geelong in big fashion. But the Bulldogs, God almighty, carrying on. You see Johannesson in the footage, Lockie Hunter, Tom Liberatore, who seems to do that anyway. It's pathetic. I don't like it. It's a bad look. It's an arrogant look. Look, if people want to disagree, that's fine. But I feel that is a terrible look and an arrogant look. So if the Bulldogs lose, this is probably going to be brought up again. The Bulldogs lift your game. Pathetic. Absolutely pathetic. Now, a late inclusion.
Yeah, so there we go. Pathetic, says Cooper, Mr. Scoops. How dare the Western Bulldogs enjoy their win and celebrate the fact that they're in another grand final for the second time in 5 years. How dare they? Or 6 years. I can't count. Anyway, since 2016. So, yeah, how dare they? It's absolutely pathetic, apparently. And definitely Melbourne Demons would not have been celebrating hard at all. They would have definitely gone to bed and taken their vitamins and said their prayers without any shadow of a doubt. No celebration whatsoever. So, yeah, you must be right there, Coops. And they're definitely going to lose because of that. So, yeah, absolute disgrace it was. The Western Bulldogs, absolute disgrace. How dare they? Yeah, hopefully you can tell I'm taking the piss because absolute joke that was. Ex-guest of the show, Jaden Shea, was all over the TV. The man was getting himself all over the show. Definitely one for the camera, that man. But good on him. Shout out to Jaden. You had a fantastic time after that win. I can guarantee you had a good time. But yeah, how dare you? Pathetic of you to celebrate the preliminary final win and coming over to Perth for a grand final. Disgusting. I do have to support the Demons, and reason why is because I do have a barcode gifted to me, or did have a barcode gifted to me, so I will have to most definitely support the Demons on the day. Dave Corsi, you legend, for the barcode. You also gave me a barcode for the preliminary final as well. I can't even speak English. The preliminary final as well. So, yeah, thank you, Dave. Shout out to you. Massive shout out. Try to get him some good videos and photos, so hopefully I did all right. And we'll have to most definitely get him some really good videos and photos next weekend at the AFL Grand Final in Perth. We got ourselves some decent tickets. Cost me more than my season pass to Fremantle for decent seats, but these ones are okay. They're up in the third tier, which is a bit high, but not too far up, so not too bad. And in the middle of the ground, so it'll be very exciting. I can't wait. Grand Final in Perth. It can't get any better. Grand final at night as well, so I guess it can get better. If it was during the day, it wouldn't be as good. But, yeah, I'm super excited. Never thought it would happen. Here it is. It's happening, and I get a ticket, or I've got a ticket, and can't wait. Just can't wait. I'm very, very excited. Sorry about that. Didn't mean to go off on a tangent on the grand final. It wasn't on my run sheet at all, but there we go. No. Anyway, as I go back to Coops, well, I won't go back to Coops. Screw Coops. Congratulations again to the Western Bulldogs and Melbourne Demons going through. Jaden Shea, congratulations on going to another grand final. Hopefully we get to see you here in Perth. Hopefully we can have another chat. That'd be fantastic. And you can share your thoughts and your feelings and how you went after the preliminary final. You can tell us what went down there. I'm sure you just had a really good time and went to bed straight afterwards, no doubt. But no. So hopefully we'll have a chat to him in the next few weeks or in the coming months if they have a win, and no doubt he'll be celebrating hard. So go the Dogs, go the D's. Hopefully it's a fantastic game. Right, one more thing before we jump into today's interview. I've mentioned it previously many times before that you guys have asked previously if you can donate to the show to help us keep going. And I did create the Ko-fi or Coffee link on top of the Facebook page, which is pinned on the top of the page if you do want to donate to the show. What it's called is you're essentially buying me a coffee. I believe coffees are $5 each, but no, I appreciate it. I think you can actually change the value. It could be less. It could, I don't know. But anyway, I appreciate everyone who does donate. This particular month, or the last couple of weeks even, you guys have been very generous, and I really, really appreciate it. We're actually super close to being able to afford hosting another year. So it is quite expensive to do so. I think it's $480 odd to host a year's worth of podcasting. So we're very nearly at that target now. So I'm stoked. I do appreciate all the support. I will continue doing the show. I will do it as much as I possibly can. It's rather tiring. I do drive a couple of hours to and from work every day, so it does get difficult sometimes, but I do it as much as I can, and obviously I do it when the guests are able to come on as well. I do edit everything myself as well, so that's actually the most painful part. If I could just do just the interview and the open and close and move on, it'd be such an easy life, but it's not as easy as that, unfortunately. Those who are in production, they certainly know the pain that we go through. But anywho, I'm going to read out, I can't remember who I read out in previous episodes. I did listen to the last one a little bit, and I know I read two, but I'm just going to start from the beginning because everyone deserves another shout-out. If I have already shouted you out, you deserve another one. So I'm going to read out everybody that has donated a coffee to the Player Issue podcast because I appreciate every single one of you. Reese Mitchell says, keep it up. Thank you very much, Reese. Dave Causey, acknowledging Barra, champion. Michael Rush, I'll read out his comment as well. My favourite podcast, keep up the great work. I love that. Thank you very much. Favourite podcast, that's a huge compliment. Thank you. There is that many out there, so that's huge. Ben Simpson, thank you very much. Matthew Langley says, great podcast again. I absolutely love it. Great to hear our great young Tiger Muso in James Earl. Obviously, James was our last interview. It was a ripping interview, and always love the Guernsey buy and sell from eBay, etc., which is really good to hear, actually, because I'm not too sure whether you guys like hearing it. So now I do know that at least a couple of you do. Keep up the great work. Tiger Matt, P.S. Get them to sign your cave door because he does as well. That's actually a genius idea, and I may do that. I'm getting a visitor on Thursday, so I may do that. I'm going to see what I can do. Dale Gavrilovich, thank you very much, Dale. Dave Beanie, thank you so much. GWS Giants Jumper Collection. Should know who that is by now, but that would be Clint Johnson. Thank you very much. Ex-guest of the show. Got another one from, it just says coffee supporter. So I actually don't know who this one is, but someone just didn't put their name in. I guess that's their way of putting it in anonymously. English is really not my forte today. Their way of putting it in anonymously. Just because coffee supporter. So thank you very much, Mr. Coffee Supporter or Miss Coffee Supporter. I really appreciate that. Just another jumper collector, also known as Blake Cook. Thank you, Blake. Says, this Erin chick is hot. Thanks, Blake. I appreciate it. Collecting Sports. So at Collecting Sports on Instagram. Go and check him out. He says, great podcast, Erin. Keep up the great work. Well, good work. I don't get too far ahead of myself. Thank you very much, Mr. at Collecting Sports. Andy Munro. Everyone knows the great Andy Munro from TikTok. TikTok famous. Former guest of the show as well. Thank you, Erin, for providing so many hours of entertainment for so many collectors. No, thank you for listening to the show. I appreciate it very much. Scott Dowsing says, enjoy the pod when out for a run or in the car. Keep it up. Go the Pies. Thank you very much, Scott, you legend. And Jordan Hoare says, thanks so much for everything you do within the collection community. Makes it a great thing to be a part of. I appreciate the kind words, Jordan. It is a fantastic hobby to be a part of. You are not wrong there at all. I simply just put the platform out there for you guys. So I am not the reason that you guys enjoy the show. I am simply the platform host. The reason you guys enjoy it is simply because of all the fantastic guests and the interviews that we actually have here. So you guys are the real stars of the show, and obviously everybody who listens is a real star of the show because they're the reason we do it. So thank you massively to everybody who contributes to the show in every way possible. And a special shout out goes to John Rambo. This gentleman is a champion. He has consistently donated to the show over and over again, above and beyond, well and truly more than he should give to the show. But I guess, appreciate the show that much and want to see it keep going, then that's the way to do it. So thank you so much, Mr. Rambo. You are an absolute lifesaver, better than Sylvester Stallone. I appreciate you so much. I appreciate everyone who supports the show. because you are the reason we do it. And if you do want to leave a review as well, you don't have to donate. You can just go and leave a review either on the podcast page, the Player Issue Podcast Facebook page, or the Instagram page even, or of course on Apple Podcasts. There's 17 reviews, I believe, 17 ratings. There's only 3 reviews. So if you want to go on there and just write some words on there, I'd love to read them as well. So, okay, just thank you all for your support, and let's not muck around anymore. Let's get into the interview. So this is our interview with Craig Evans, is part 3. He is known as The Voice, the man with the golden voice. So let's go and have a listen to him. Make sure you stick it out because it's a tremendous episode, tremendous interview. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I know you will as well. So here it is, the golden voice, Mr. Craig Evans. All right, Craig, welcome back to the Player Issue Podcast. How are we?
Yeah, it's good to be back, Ez. I can't believe it's episode 3 for me already.
Yeah,
The Voice.
The Voice part 3. We had to get you back on because there's been a big outcry for The Voice to come back on the show.
Here I am.
And here he is. I'm pumped. Great to have you
Good
here.
be back. The studio's amazing.
You're the first interview. I finally get to say it. You're the first interview we actually do live in the cave.
Oh, it's awesome. It's good to be here, and it's just a great setup. Big TV behind us, and
We got the West Coast and Brisbane game on in the background. It's a big game for all 3 teams, West Coast, Brisbane, and Freo. So
and it's a good scoreboard at the moment.
at the moment, yeah, and Darling's just hit the post. So thank God for that. So Brizzy playing for top 4, West Coast playing to stay in the finals, and Freo sitting there going, please lose. So yeah, that's what I'm hoping for.
Me too.
So
Me
far,
too.
so good.
Me too.
Oh, I'm excited, Craigo, because finally get you here. And
Probably been 12 months, I reckon.
it's been 2 years now.
Is it really?
It has. It's been 2019
Wow.
we did this, and I think it was
Wow.
June, so
Wow.
not long after we actually started the podcast. So I could be wrong there, but no, it definitely was in 2019.
So we've had COVID, we've had people stood down from the club, and
Yeah.
everything in between, but I'm back. And
Yeah. Yeah, we'll get to that because
Yeah.
they were in my notes, Craig.
Wow,
Don't get too
can't
far ahead of
believe
me. It's been a whirlwind 2 years. So I did go back and listen to the Voice Part 2 before you came over. And in all truth, I was feeling god awful before you got here. So apologies if it's not a great episode. Craig himself actually not feeling too well
No,
either.
got
What happened, Craig,
stood
before you
on
got
a,
here?
Blue bottle jellyfish at the beach.
Who were you with
I
as
was
well?
with Gemma
Houghton.
Houghton, good friend of mine. So we just went for a walk on the beach, and lots of little blue bottle jellyfish all over the place, and we both stood on one. So I'm here. I'm not feeling the best, but we're here, and we'll voice on. We won't kick on. We'll voice on.
We will voice on, yeah. No running around the field for us.
No.
I'm past it and I feel terrible, so I'm just a voice now. We have got Milo sitting in the room as well.
We do?
She's very obsessed with Craig, actually. She was up on her tippy toes licking his ear for about 5 minutes, but
She's sleeping now, so we'll probably leave her in that.
we won't talk to her because she'll get excited again and she'll bother us.
Yeah.
So listening back to the Voice Part 2, which I did a little bit, the only thing that really popped in my head, which I wanted to chat about, was the long sleeve jumpers. Now, that was one of the last things I mentioned, and it was because of a lot of people asking questions about when a long sleeve jumpers come back into retail. And you mentioned that you'd take it to the head honchos and see what we can do. And lo and behold, 2021, there's a long sleeve jumper in the retail
It's a long
store.
sleeve. I think there are a few different factors that really played into us getting it back. Obviously, our members speaking out and wanting one, you sort of suggesting it on the pod, and also our change of on-fielder, having Seacom on board. Their MOQs to get them in are a lot less than what they were with ISC, so it was really a no-brainer. And we got our first lot in and did a pre-sale and didn't really even get to put them out on shelf. They sold before we even got them in. So
Yeah, right.
I think with Lobby and Rick and a couple of the other guys now wearing them, it probably gives a bit more of a demand for them as well. So they're back and they'll be consistently in the range going forward.
Yeah, awesome. So when you say the MOQ, so ISC, what was the MOQ for them? So minimum order quantity, that is.
Correct, yeah. So they'd be wanting about 400 or 500.
Oh, Jesus.
With Seacom, it's certainly a lot less than that.
Yeah.
So 10 units to make them.
Yeah, right. Ah, good.
Really achievable. But we'll just factor them into our range next year and have them. So much so we might even look at doing the away version.
Yeah, nice. I did notice that I think you've had, 3 runs of them so far, and they
Yeah.
just keep coming in and gone straight away.
Yeah.
So
So
everyone gets excited about it when they're on Instagram or They jump up on the page. Everyone's like, quick, on my way down to get one.
Yeah, and we also got the retro ones back in, but we've had a few issues with those because they're handcrafted in Melbourne. So we pre-sold about 150 of them, and they take a hell of a lot of time and effort to make them. So they got started. I think they're on about 40 units at the moment, but because Victoria's in their lockdown, the company can't produce at the moment. So.
Yeah, right. Is that the Footy Fan Direct team?
Yeah.
Recent sponsor of the podcast.
Yes, exactly.
They actually gave me a bit of not a heads up, but they gave me they almost told me that it was coming, but they didn't tell me, Right. So I was wondering if that was going to happen, that there was going to be an old school Freo. Because you've had them before, the first 18 ones, where it's had the Freo emblem.
Yeah, so it's nothing new, but just the authenticity of this one being replica with hard yakka.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's awesome.
I did see it in the store a couple of weeks ago. What are they worth?
$250.
$250.
Yeah.
So they're not cheap.
They're not cheap.
But they're awesome quality.
Very good. They're heavy. They're very, very
heavy.
they
are. Yeah.
Heavy.
Is there a short sleeve version of that as well? I know it is on their website.
There is, but we chose not to stock it because we've got the recent retro sleeveless in. We just didn't want to complicate things with having free. So we've got the Seacom replica and then the woolly long sleeve.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
The long sleeves obviously come back into forefront for most people because a few years ago I think we talked about like 2017, 2018, the players would wear them at training.
Yes.
I don't know. I think Ross may have had a stance on long sleeve jumpers where the players couldn't wear them in game.
Yes, there is a lot of truth to that.
Yeah, so you would see them at training, which was exciting, and that's when people started thinking, "Oh, I'd love to get a hold of a long sleeve." Or you'd have them for sale as well because players just wouldn't wear them, so they'd just all be getting sold at the sales.
Yeah.
But then obviously JL come in, and he was a big proponent of the long sleeve jumper.
He was. Yep.
So we've seen it a lot more in the last 2 years with Lob and Frederick and
Jimmy Aish.
Jimmy Aish was it all the time.
He's now sort of requested that we can do all his jumpers in a long sleeve, the event jumpers as well for next year. So
Very
I think
cool.
You might have seen that with the Starlight. We got his custom made. And,
yeah. So was there only one of that?
Yes.
Why did I stop bidding on it? I think that went for about $900-ish dollars, I think, and I was so tempted. I should have kept going. I don't know why I didn't. I don't think I had the money at the time, but I mean, you don't see it. The event jumpers. I don't think there's ever been a long sleeve event jumper. Obviously, going back in the days, the Heritage and stuff like that, there was, but in the ISC days, there wasn't. Right?
It's a first.
Yeah,
it's a first. And, just touching on the auctions this year, I mean, you can probably vouch for this. We've just got some extraordinary money.
Yeah.
All 3 auctions that we've done.
Yeah.
Back to back to back.
Yep.
And people have all paid for them and they've been shipped and sent. And everyone's happy. I don't know why that is. I mean, Starlight, unique situation. Every bit of money we raised goes to Starlight. And I think we raised about $33,000 from the auction.
Wow.
So,
yeah. I mean, the design was incredible for a start.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know if it would have happened if it was the same design as it's been the last 10 years.
Probably not.
10 years. But, it has been 10 years, isn't it?
10 years,
Yeah, so had it been the same design, I don't know, it would have done the same thing. But just even if it changed up a little bit, it may not have done it either. But the fact that it had such a huge meaning to it.
Yes.
I don't know if those that are listening know the meaning to it, but I'm sure you can tell them a lot better than I can.
Obviously, Starlight Foundation's a big part of what we support, and again, I'm not sure if your viewers are aware, but Millie was our ambassador for that, not last year, the year before, and she lost her life, fortunately, and the club's got behind it, and her family and her brother actually came up with the design, so there's 14 stars. Millie was 14 years old when she passed, and then a little angel at the top with angel wings and 14 on the back, so really getting goosebumps at the moment just telling the story, and obviously Nat's been really supportive of it as well, and we gained some traction through our comms department who pushed it really heavily as well. So I think that's the reason why people dug deep. And did you get one of those?
I got Sam Switkowski's.
Right.
So I was pretty happy with that, actually. Big fan of Switter.
Yes.
Very underrated for us, I think.
Very.
I think I only paid $400 something for it, so I was actually stoked with how much I paid, considering how much everything else was going for. So I was real happy with that. Yeah, I mean, I did miss out on the Aish, and I missed out on the Great Man Mondays, of course. But his jumpers this year have been going absolutely insane. There's been no chance for me to get one this year. So I think his went for about $2,500
Yes.
in Starlight. So
Yes.
crazy, but it's worth it because he's a very good player. He's going to go down as one of the all-time greats, and it's a great design. So, and of course, worthy cause. Now, when you say worthy cause, and not sure how or why that a lot of people are spending so much money, I can tell you that a lot of people that just collect jumpers in general who don't support Freo were messaging me before it happened and said this is an awesome design and the story that is behind it is even better.
Yep.
So they're going to dig deep and they're going to buy as well.
Sure.
So I was like, oh damn, I'm going to miss out on getting a cheap jumper here. But and when you look back on it, it's all for a great cause.
Correct.
And for the club, it's fantastic.
Correct.
So well done to everybody who bought one and dug deep. So yeah, it does mean a lot. And it was a tremendous design. So
Absolutely. And then a few weeks after that, we had Retro, which just great result.
Yeah.
Great result for the club. And particularly from a retail point of view, we sort of exceeded all of our expectations. And Retro's back in a big way. It's really trending at the moment. You just have a look on Marketplace and Gumtree, eBay, and Retro caps and tees, they're just fetching huge amounts of money.
Yeah. Like jackets are going insane. For some reason, there's a huge market for the old school jackets at the moment, 90s jackets.
I don't want to give too much away, but here's a little inside.
Oh.
So the original jacket that we wore in 1994-95, we're replicating next year.
Oh, wow.
As part of the Retro range. So we've managed to get hold of one, and our suppliers are sort of replicating it as best as they can. It's hard because that particular parachute fabric is quite hard to make, but we'll try our best to replicate it as close as we can.
That's awesome. That's exciting.
Yeah, we're excited about it.
And I know Craig Callahan's actually got his still as original as well because he was going to give me his pants, his tracksuit pants from that tracksuit as well.
And he hasn't yet.
He hasn't yet, but the man hasn't come into the cave yet, so I'm waiting
so if
for
you're
it.
listening, Craig,
Yeah, Craig says
from one Craig to another, comes to the cave, you should get him on.
we should. Yeah, I've got the interview already planned out.
Right.
It's been written for a while now.
Right.
So
So we'll give him a little gentle nudge. And
yep.
Would you like me back for episode 4 with him?
Absolutely. The two Craigs would make a great
Let's
episode.
do it. Let's do it.
But no, so he's got his jacket and he will never part with that, he's told me. So that's good.
Right.
That's good to know.
I think from memory it was Nike on the side
It was.
of the sleeve.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is pretty damn cool. Which is interesting, actually, because, back in 95, when we had Seacom as a supplier and Nike were making the on-field player
Yeah.
stuff, which, I think we might have covered that before, but I think we were talking about getting Paddy Watson in
Yes.
to talk about it as well. So we'll still work on that. How is Paddy?
I actually haven't spoken to him for quite a while. I saw him last at a funeral. Fortunately, the other property, Stuart Frank Whitcomb, passed away. And, so it would have been late 2019.
Yep.
But from all accounts, from what I've heard, he's doing okay.
Nice.
But we will definitely try and get him on the show for sure. For sure.
Be very good to hear from him. So we'll circle back to the start here. So we'll go back to 2019 because it 2 years is a long time in footy, but it's also a long time in life. So 2019 finished up as per usual. It was the last time we've seen footy played in its regular format and its form. And then the 2020 preseason got underway and COVID hit us all. It affected everybody, including yourself. Now, what were your thoughts and your feelings when COVID first hit?
I remember I was actually overseas at the time and with some friends, and we heard this term COVID, and we sort of laughed at it going, geez, I wonder what this is. And then it just happened so quickly. I got back, and then by the end of February, things were getting really real, and the club had no choice but to take pretty harsh measures. And, we got stood down, some of us longer than others. I was away from the club for nearly 4 months. So with injury comes opportunity, and that's what Ross used to say. So, a lot of us were stood down and got the opportunity to go work at Woolworths distribution centre at the airport, thanks to our co-major programmed. So there was myself, a few other admin staff, Rocky and Tendai Muzungu went out there, and for us it was a whole new experience and an opportunity where we met some really amazing people, international pilots, cabin crew, car salesmen, the likes, and just thrust into this environment that most of us had never been in before. High-vis vest, steel cap boots, day shift, night shift, and just working to survive.
Yeah. Well, that's all it was, right? Like COVID, a lot of people didn't have that luxury.
Yeah.
Where a lot of people just lost their job and they
Absolutely.
were stuck on either on JobKeeper, JobSeeker or whatever. But
Absolutely.
I know my missus, she was living off JobKeeper, which fantastic that we had it. So I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of people didn't have anything. So
And then further to that, most of us got a call back to the club, be it in a part-time role and then obviously leading back into full-time work. But not everyone was so lucky. Quite a few people didn't get that opportunity to come back to the club, which was really, really devastating. These were people that absolutely loved what they did, but it was a harsh time and, things had to happen to survive, Ez.
yeah, you're not wrong. So as you mentioned, you end up being stood down amongst many, many others in the club. What was your emotions going through your mind at the time?
Oh, I just remember it was a Zoom meeting, and I remember Simon Garlick sort of driving it, and there was 8 or 9 of us all in this sort of admin-type commercial role, and it was really hard. I just remember Simon saying that there's no easy way about this, guys, but for the foreseeable future, you guys, you're done. You stood down, and, that was pretty much it. And just hearing that, I took it really, really personally, and, it's almost as if you'd been fired because essentially you were stood down and you didn't know if and when you were coming back. So Simon and his team were really good. They communicated with us as often as they could. Once a month we had a Zoom meeting where all our staff that were stood down were involved, and he tried to keep us in the loop. But I think the hardest thing for that was he didn't actually know what he was telling us because we didn't know what was ahead. It was so uncertain and if and when. But yeah, luckily I'm back 18 years and I'm still here.
Yeah. So at the time, it was 17 years there at the club. Did you think that was it? It was over?
I definitely had that thought cross my mind a few times, and yeah, it was just a really, really anxious time for me. I remember just going if and when I was going to be back, and what would it look like.
Did you just buy or get your new house as well at the same time?
I hadn't even been in there 3 weeks. I hadn't paid my first repayment on my home loan, so really, really stressful time for me personally. Yeah.
How quickly did you transition into Woolworths? Was it pretty much straight away, or
well, actually, if we go back a step, I got stood down on the Tuesday, and then on the Wednesday, a really good friend of mine had a friend who was looking for someone to work at Bank of Queensland in their call centre. So a day after I got stood down, I went in, did the interview, and did a couple of days training, and then was put on the front line in their customer care service. And as you can imagine, it was call after call, people going, I haven't got money, I need to freeze my home loan, and it was a really, really depressing place to be. So I tapped out of that a few days into it, and then literally the week after was at Woolies.
Yep.
Yeah, so...
And you made lots of friends from there.
I certainly did, and I keep in touch with a few of them today. And, as I said, really grateful for the opportunity, because hadn't I been stood down, I would have never met these people and never been pushed out of my comfort zone to what I was there. As I said, I'd never worked shift work before, so... the morning shift from memory, we were there at about 4:30 and worked all the way through to about 4 or 5, and afternoon shift was about 3 o'clock till 1, 2 in the morning. So,
yeah.
And it was a time when Woolies was really, really busy. Obviously, with COVID, everyone was doing the panic buying, that's what it's called. So the funny thing was, people used to say about the toilet paper, but it wasn't the fact that there was a shortage of it. It's just we couldn't get out of DC quick enough on the truck. So we had plenty of it. We just couldn't get it out. So
Crazy.
Yeah.
So, as you mentioned, thankfully you were brought back to the club. How many of your former colleagues returned to the club with you?
Well, from a retail point of view, we lost one full-timer and all of our casuals. So there was just Tony Godden and myself, probably the best part of 18 months. We've only just started to bring back staff.
Crikey.
Yeah. So,
Crazy times.
Crazy times.
It's interesting, though. Before we get to 2021... which we'll get to shortly. You came back in the same role, was that correct?
Yes, I did.
Yep.
Came back in the same role, but it was only 4 days a week. So
were you part-time?
I was.
Yeah.
I was, yep.
How was that? How was your thoughts around that?
Again, quite clouded and mixed, because I didn't know what was happening, if I was actually going to come back in a full-time role. We were still receiving JobKeeper, which was topping us up at the time. So, again, really, really stressful, but just tried to remain as positive as I could.
Were you casual or part-time at Woolworths?
Casual.
Casual, yeah. So when you got offered or got that call from Freo? Was it jumping for joy, or was it, look, what am I coming back as?
If I'm being completely honest, like I remember getting the call from my GM and I just said, look, I'm going to have to really think about it because at the moment I've got a job that's paying my mortgage as opposed to coming back and not knowing really what was going on.
Yeah.
Thought about it overnight and you go where your heart is, and that's back to Freo. So, it was part-time for a little while and then was fortunate enough to go back to full-time. I think it was about 3 or 4 months after that.
Yeah, good. I know at the time there was points where you were messaging me saying that you weren't sure that you were going to come back to the role and that I should go for it. And I'm like, mate, this is your job.
That's correct.
This is where you belong.
Correct.
This is
and
where you
was all
deserve
the
to
thoughts
be.
that were going through my head. I thought about going up north and working on the mine. I think I might have had that chat with you and saying, yes, do you reckon I should do it? And I think you said to me, you got to do what's right for you.
Yeah, wherever the heart is, which for me is always for you, has always been at Freo.
Yes.
So good Freo man, and it would have been devastating to lose Craig Evans from the Freo Footy Club. So back where you belong, which is great.
But then fast forward to 2021, and there's been a few things that have happened.
There has,
which is exciting. So.
Yep, we'll get to that because there's a lot to cover, I reckon.
Yeah.
So 2020, you all held another locker room sale, end of season sale.
Yes.
What was the expectations leading into this one after going through such an interrupted season? Was there some expectations going to be better or worse? Or
our expectations were to equal what we did the year before, and we did.
Yeah.
We did.
Yep.
So we were pretty chuffed with that.
Yep.
So much so from that, again, I don't know if this is what we're going to talk about later, but we've introduced a sideline sale, a mid-season sideline sale. So
we will talk about that for sure.
I'm jumping the gun a lot today. I'm sorry.
You're excited. I like it. I'm not upset by that.
Okay.
So the fact that you guys just you equaled the years before, like did that look very positive for your outcome for the future? Did you guys think, this is we're heading back into the right direction?
Yeah, we definitely, there was an element of that.
Yeah.
Definitely an element of that for sure.
Yeah. What was the feedback over that as well? Any general feedback from?
I think we're just offering that unique experience to come down to the locker room to purchase something that's match worn or player issued, but also we spent a fair bit of time looking after our members that were interstate, and there's people out there that you deal with all the time as well that were really grateful for it. So I mean, I don't like to mention names, but I will. Vida was one of them, and we always look after her. So.
Shout out to Vida.
Shout out to Vida.
And Brian, shout out to Brian.
Brian, yes.
There's lots of yous out there though, so we're not going to go through yous all. But no, so I did have a lot of people messaging me, contacting me about that sale as well, asking for help from interstate. I think I came and did a bit of a spreadsheet for you, so you could help out some of the lads over there east. But I think you went through those jumpers so quickly.
We did. I mean, look, the only thing that disappoints me, but there's very little that we can do about it. We've spoken off air about this, is the fact that people come in not necessarily with the right intentions. It's to flip, and they do. I mean, we saw it for the last 2 seasons, literally hours after purchasing, they're on eBay Marketplace Gumtree. Again, good luck to the people out there doing it, but it's disappointing because people that actually want them miss out, essentially.
I actually did purchase a couple of jumpers after that exact sale, actually, from people who had put them up on Marketplace within the hours. So, hours after spending $6,800 at the sale, I was driving to South Perth to purchase some from someone off Marketplace as well.
I'm just not sure what we can do about it or stop it. I think it happens in all sort of sales.
It does. It happens in all retail. I mean, you've seen it with PlayStation 5s. So PS5s, we get in JBs, we get them and within 5 minutes they're all gone. And you look on Facebook Marketplace or wherever, and they're up for $1,200-$1,300. I know some of the Freo boys actually did end up paying extraordinary amounts for one as well.
Yep.
So it is what it is. Like the supply and demand is a thing, and there's no way of changing it. But luckily, the ones who want the stuff as much as more than anybody else will get there, and they'll find a way. So it is sad for some of the interstaters, but we look after them as much as we can.
You do.
So do you. I was going to say, you guys do as well. And so, yeah, massive shout out to the way you guys do everything. So 2020 in retail was incredibly unexpected for us at JB Hi-Fi. We had record sales throughout the entire year. We're up 30% on the year before, in previous years' sales, which nobody could have ever seen coming. What were the retail sales at the club? Was it still in line with 2019, or was it a little bit worse?
It was a little bit worse. I guess the challenging thing for us was actually our bricks and mortar and our actual retail store. There was just so much inconsistency with trading, open and then closed. What that did do is it really changed our dynamics in the way that we do e-commerce. So massive part of our business and focus is on e-commerce now. So we've invested quite heavily in new technology to help us pick and pack better. And we're just seeing growth in it all the time.
Did you change the way you do your online sales as far as people manning it as well?
Well, unfortunately, Tony, my boss, was the sole person pretty much for nearly 8 months picking and packing. So he was responsible for that. But we've implemented new software that just lets us pull our online orders straight through to Australia Post where the label's printed out, and it just cuts our pick and pack time almost in half now.
Yeah.
So I would say is though probably in the next year or so we'll invest someone full-time who will just be out the back and be a proper pick and pack centre or a distribution centre. If you
awesome.
like. So,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know if that's what it's like for you guys in your industry, but
Yeah, well, we're lucky enough to have 40 people employed at any one time. So we're lucky enough to have enough people that can pick and pack constantly. But so we have PDAs that will ding or make a noise when there's a new order come through, and we're on it immediately. So same thing when we pick our orders, it just goes straight through to Australia Post or Toll Ping if it's a bigger item. But it's definitely the way of the future. I mean, our online sales are insane. So
and probably only going to keep growing.
Yeah, I mean, especially right now because most of the over east is locked down. That's all they can do: click and collect online sales. So it's big business.
It is.
That's what keeps us all going. So
correct.
Can't argue with it.
Correct.
So 2020 not only saw a retail boom, but it also seemingly ushered in a lot more collectors to the hobby of jumper collecting. Did you notice anything either through the auctions or the sale or even just emails and phone calls that there were seemingly a lot more people out there wanting Player Issue jumpers?
Definitely. Particularly via email as well. I think in the weeks leading up to the auction, I would have had 30 or 40 people just constantly asking questions, what's going in, prices, etc.
Yeah.
It's definitely a widening space.
Yeah.
Who's coming on board with it. Lots of new members. And with our last 3 auctions, it's interesting enough, most of the people that have bought in all 3 auctions, they're not repeats. They're all new people in every auction. So
right.
There's lots of people out there now that are jumping on board.
Yeah, I mean, we've noticed across the whole landscape that just prices of skyrocketing of auctions, eBay even, it's going nuts. And like you mentioned, retro stuff, it's come back in a big way.
Yeah.
Actually, you mentioned before, retro coming back in a big way. 2021, I'm jumping my own gun here a little bit, but 2021 when Freo did their retro jumper,
yes,
there was a bit of word around, I think it was on Fox Footy, that it was retro round. So I don't think it was actually an AFL thing.
Correct.
But Fox Footy were pushing it heavily as a retro round.
And we rode off the back of that really nicely.
Yeah.
Really
and
nicely.
Freo were the only one to do anything.
Yes.
Is there any? Do you know if there was any reason for that?
I actually don't know the reason why.
It was weird because I thought, this is going to be a great fun round. And Freo were the only one to capitalise on it.
And to be honest, we didn't even have to send out an EDM for our retro range. We had our in-house photographer, Britt. I'm going to give her a plug. She took an amazing photo of Moose down at Shacks Holden in Fremantle. And that photo almost went global, but it certainly did the rounds very, very quickly. And our sell-through from that was just extraordinary.
Yeah. I mean, Jesus wearing a old-school Freo jumper, you can't go wrong.
You can't go wrong in the holy grail of Fremantle. So,
Yeah, it was a fantastic photo. It lit the footy landscape abuzz. I can tell you, I woke up to that photo and I was like, here we go. It was exciting.
But we will definitely be doing another retro jumper in 2022.
It's exciting. Very exciting.
Bill Laurie would say 2 for 22. Sorry, just thought I'd throw that one in there, Ed.
22. Oh, yeah, actually, now you're throwing that in there. I actually didn't write this down, but I'm disappointed I didn't. But glad you brought it up.
Bill Laurie?
Well, Bill Laurie being the famous cricket commentator.
Right.
So your collection, your own little collection that you have, so your footy collection's taken a bit of a back step, I guess the word, because you want to focus much more on your cricket stuff.
I do, and thanks to yourself for helping me get some opportunity to expand on my cricket. There's a private seller in India who had some really, really amazing Zim stuff, and thanks to you, we were able to get a couple of those to the collection, and purely cricket now. But that being said, I haven't added anything to the collection for about 12 months now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just slowing down.
Slowing down a bit, and
finance wise, or
finance wise, the mortgage sort of takes a bit of a toll monthly. But I actually haven't seen too much out there. Have you guys?
It's definitely been a lot slower in cricket in the last 12 months, which is weird because Yeah, in 2020, but things were going crazy.
Yeah.
Like I've seen a lot more Zimbabwe shirts I've ever seen in my
Yeah.
life. So
But no, I not regrettably, but I've sort of parted ways with a lot of my AFL collection. But I know some of them are in good hands, and if I ever want them back, I know who's got them.
yeah, 90% of them are still here. So
Exactly.
and then a couple others are to people that you know very well. So
Yes.
yeah, they are in good hands.
Yeah. Hopefully get a couple new cricket shirts to the collection soon.
Yeah. So when's the last one you got one? Literally a year ago. And
About a year ago.
What was
I actually
it?
can't even remember what it was, to be honest. Actually, no, I'll tell you, the last one I got was when Zimbabwe changed their kit sponsor to Isham Sports, which is a Indian cricket hockey.
Yeah.
I've got in touch with them, and they gave me a couple of player-issued ones.
Yeah, nice. Because you had a bit of a contact with the Zimbabwe cricket team manufacturers before, right?
Yes, I
was
did.
it Vera?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
How'd you go with that? Because I know it was very interesting, some conversations
Oh,
there.
that was a challenge in itself sometimes.
You did manage to get a couple there, right?
I did, after some extraordinary DHL prices and all sorts, but yeah, got a few to the collection.
So because of that, you managed to get a contact with the new manufacturer?
Well, when I saw it, I actually just went onto their Facebook page and dropped them a little inbox message, and within 4 or 5 hours, I got a call back from their marketing manager on WhatsApp.
Yeah, right.
So, yeah, Isham Sports.
Yeah, right. Ishan Sports. All right, keep a word out. Yeah.
And what about you, Ez? Just throwing the mic back to you a bit. What about your collection? What are you focusing on at the moment? Have you got anything in particular, or still quite broad?
Yeah, so, I mean, it's still a little broad, but not as broad as it was when we last chatted, for
Okay.
sure. So I did think, you know what, if I don't calm down or slow it down a little bit, it's going to get out of control. And now with this new cave, I've got four nice new cabinets. It can still only fit so much stuff.
Yep.
So rather than going out and buying 50, 60 Freo jumpers at sales
Yeah.
every year, I mean, I do try and get some of the other ones out to bring new ones in.
Yep.
So it's not crazy all
So
the time.
you trade a bit.
I trade a little bit.
Yep.
May sell some, so I've got some money for the sales, but so that I can bring more jumpers in.
Okay.
But so the idea is, you know, still keeping some of the room, but I guess going for a little bit more quality.
Yep.
But in the same space where I say quality, I've got that the aim now of Milo's real happy at the moment. I've got the idea now, or I've got it in the last couple of years anyway, to finish the club's history.
Yep.
So I think it's 105. It's more than that now, actually. About 106 jumpers that the club has worn since their inception. So that's home, away, and any one-off
Anything in
designs
between.
that they've worn each year. Not just the same design over 3 or 4 years, but the same jumper each year. And I'm 12 off. So I did pick up one on the weekend, actually, which was one I've been trying to get for a while, and I've been offering some crazy dollars for them, and been pushed back every time.
But you've got it in your hands.
But I've got it in my hands. It's in my cabinet and only cost me $150.
Wow.
So
That's
a
awesome.
lot less than it was going to cost me if
That's
someone
awesome.
accepted my offers. But so 12 to go.
Confident?
No, not really. I know that Brett Peake has a couple that I need.
Right.
So I'm slowly working on him. Obviously, he doesn't live in Perth. Well, he's not in Perth all that often at the moment.
Yeah.
So when he gets back, he's going to send me messages and see what we can do. But he sent me some photos, and there's 2 that he
They
has.
do exist.
Yeah.
You've seen them.
I've seen 2.
Right.
Which is
okay.
good because the 2 that he has, I've never seen before.
Okay.
So that's the problem now. Is I've down at hopefully we're down to 10 jumpers when I get that. I haven't seen many or any of the jumpers
Other than
that I
pictures
need.
on the internet.
Yeah. So I think the last 10 is going to be real tough to get. But yeah, so that's kind of my current goal is to do that. But also I started an NBA player issue game worn collection as well.
Right.
Possibly the stupidest thing I've ever done in my life. Because your average price of an NBA game worn or issued jersey is $500.
Right.
And that's for pretty much a no-name player.
Right.
So 30 teams, you can do the maths. It's a lot of money. So I'll get there eventually. I think I've got about 8 so far.
And belts of the wrestling variety.
Yeah, so I'm almost at my
Capacity.
now. Oh, I am actually at capacity.
Because I'm just turning my head over to the cabinet and it looks pretty full to me.
Well, how many have I got? They've got 5 cabinets and there's 4 shelves. There's 20 belts there. And M keeps saying, how many more belts can you possibly get? And there is a lot of belts out there, but I only want the ones that I like or that I grew up with. So I only really need maybe 2 to 3 more. And I'll be
how
content.
do you source these belts? Are they custom made for you, or are they actually
A lot of them are.
worn? Do they?
No, I wish.
Okay.
Like, I would love to get some ring-worn wrestling belts. That'd be crazy.
Ringworm, I like that. not ringworm, ring-worn.
Yeah,
Sorry.
ring-worn, yeah.
Yep.
I would love that, but you'd be looking at 10 to 15K.
You've seen them?
Yeah, I've seen them.
Right.
Another podcast host that I listen to regularly, Conrad Thompson, who does the Something to Wrestle with. Jeff, he does podcasts with Jeff Jarrett, Ric Flair, Arn Anderson. He has a huge collection of ring-worn gear.
Okay.
He's actually Ric Flair's son-in-law.
Right.
So it's
Who's that?
Ric Flair. Yeah. Who's Ric Flair? Good Lord. He's the Nature Boy Ric Flair is probably one of the most well-known wrestlers in the world of all time.
Of all time.
Of all time. So he's up there with Hulk Hogan.
Bret the Hitman Hart.
Bret Hitman Hart, yeah.
The Undertaker.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So good names here. So,
I just never heard of the other one.
yeah, so Ric Flair was mostly WCW in the early days.
Okay.
So, yeah, if you didn't, well, especially us here in Australia, we didn't get as much WCW as we did WWE or WWF. So that makes sense that you don't know him.
Right.
He was in WWF early days and he came back after WCW shut down. So very well known. Actually, just recently got released by WWE only in the last 2 weeks. So, yeah, he's in his 70s.
There you go.
And he's still doing stuff. So he's in Mexico right now. He actually just did some physical stuff in the ring in there. So still going. I think Hulk Hogan still wants to wrestle too. So
Oh, wow.
yeah, so that'll be literally a fight to the death. One won't come out for sure.
They must need some money.
Yeah, no doubt. So that's pretty much my collecting goals at the moment. So
Very good.
I mean, what about yourself? You want to get back into it, right? You want to?
Yeah. Just need the opportunity to pop up.
Yeah. So you're just waiting for some
waiting.
good piece.
Waiting in the wings, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
When that big piece comes out. Actually, there was a Shane Warne jersey.
You sent me the link.
And I think it was $2,000.
It was.
And you were like, nah, it's a bit much. I'm like, but it's Shane Warne.
Shane Warne.
I swear it went down a couple of times, right?
But then it went back up again.
That's right. He start at like $6,000?
Yes.
And
The problem was it was a very nice feeler garment.
So it was your favourite design.
Yes.
Yeah.
But it had a signature to it, but a message to the signature.
That's right, yeah.
Very hard to get those off.
Yeah. So just couldn't justify it because it had someone else's name on it. I understand that.
Because it was on a woolly type thing, so it would have been very difficult to get that message off.
Yeah. I haven't seen it in about a year though, so I think it's gone.
Might have sold.
It's gone now.
Might have sold.
You've missed out. What is the biggest piece you have, you think, of cricket stuff? People don't like when I ask that question, but
I reckon I'd have to say, there's a couple in there, but I reckon Glenn McGrath's Test sweater.
Oh yeah,
would be right up there.
Oh yeah,
it had Travelex on the breast.
Yep,
really nice garment.
Yeah, right.
I can't actually remember what I paid for it, but
where'd you get that one from?
Private Seller over East.
Nice.
Which I think you might have been part of as well.
All right,
sending me the link.
Right, oh, good. I don't remember.
Yeah.
I'm sure we've done that lots of times, to be honest, all of us. Yeah. All right, awesome. Let's get back to yourself, back to the course we're on with footy, I suppose, because this is a footy podcast, I suppose. But 2021, we're in 2021 now, so we welcome Seacom, who, of course, were our very first ever jumper manufacturers, or just clothing manufacturers in general. What are the challenges of moving from ISC, who were at one point similarly taking over the AFL landscape,
very much so,
to a relatively small, burly
so
Seacom?
The transition was forced.
Yep.
I'm sure a lot of your viewers might know. ISC license went into voluntary administration. They still exist under ISC Teamwear, which is more your school-based, local, waffle type level, but ISC licensed actually went into voluntary administration. So we didn't have a choice to go on with them. Mm-hmm. So we went to market, and the rest is history. Burley Seacom were on board with us, and I think it tells a really, really good story. I've said this to a few different people, similar to the Geelong and Cotton On story, where Seacom are in our local backyard, really. So really good story for both the supplier and the club. Yeah. And their product's great.
Yep. That's awesome.
A little bit of work to be done in the early part because they'd never done elite jumpers before.
Yeah.
Well, from the early days. It's a long time between now and then.
Oh, it's
Their
big
waffle
change.
jumpers are very different to our elite ones. So the cut and the fit, the players had a huge say in what they wanted, and we went back and forth probably for nearly 6-7 weeks to get the right garment.
Yeah,
So their pre-season jumpers were very different to their round one jumpers.
yeah. So it was round one that they came out with the new sets.
Yeah.
So
More fitted and shaped.
yeah. So I'm sure many people. I've had lots of messages, but people have noticed in the preseason, especially against West Coast, when they wore what looked like almost parachutes
Yes.
because they were huge. And I've spoken to a couple of players as well. Luke Ryan hated it, hated the garment.
Yep.
I think Fifey wasn't a fan either.
Yes.
There was a bit of a story with Fifey asking you to take a trip down to Seacombe,
Yeah.
get him some new ones.
Yeah.
Don't come back.
Possibly be true. But yeah, I said we worked really closely with the athletes to what they wanted, and then directly with Seacombe.
I mean, obviously, the challenge is, with COVID and the short turnaround, I guess, for the season as well, and from going from ISC to Seacombe, it's going to have those challenges. Yes. So with ISC, you would have had each player probably going in and doing the measurements and stuff. Was it the same thing with Seacombe? Or,
it was, yep.
Or did you send them the measurements?
No, we sent them in. So.
Yeah.
But it all happened really, really quickly, and credit to Burleigh Seacombe. They turned around our training kit, within 4 to 6 weeks, which is just extraordinary. So great partnership, and we're looking forward to getting bigger and better.
Yeah. Speaking of the training kits, actually, so the training kits changed as well.
Yes.
Now, was that the cut as well, or did you want to go with the same collar? Because I noticed the collar changed about round 3 to 4.
That was requested by the players.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Because I know the cut was very wide on those as well.
Yep.
So they've changed very, very similar to the players, the match jumpers.
Yes.
And yeah, it's more in line. The collars are the same now on the match and the training jumpers. So,
yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And so because of that, you had the mid-season sale for the first time ever.
We did.
So what was the reason? I know a lot of people ask why there was a mid-season sale. What was the reason for having it?
One of the things that we wanted to do is just try and be as creative as we possibly can. So it just came up in a team meeting one day. Why not do something halfway through the season? And there was a lot of concern. Would this take away from our traditional locker room sale at the end of the year, which now is its fourth sale? So we were worried about that. But the opportunity came about with our W team having a fair bit of kit downstairs as well. So as most of you know, the girls don't have an abundance of money and resources, so everything that we sold sideline sale is going to go back into their training gear for next year. So we're going to get some new Guernseys all through the money that we've sold. So first time we've actually had W in our sale.
Yeah,
and
I think it was probably a handful of jumpers at the very first season.
Yes,
but there wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't much. So
and also to try and get some money back for the original Guernseys that Seacombe made that were not quite the right fit. So we had a fair bit of stuff to move. So we thought, why not give it an opportunity? And I think I actually wasn't there, but I think it went really well. Yeah.
So well, you didn't say that. So you had the whole sets, home away, all the trainers, home away trainers as well. They were all there. So you literally had to move all of the old gear, right? So you just no point in keeping it at the club.
Point in keeping it, yeah.
So there's a great reason to have the sale, and they say move some money, get some money for the AFLW jumpers and the whole new kit that had to happen. So
and it might not be something that we do again because we might not be in this position next year where we've got a fair bit of stuff. We might just go back to our normal end of season locker room sale, which will happen again this year as well.
Yeah, awesome. Well, that's the thing as well, because the mid-season sale, obviously everyone's thinking, how is this a thing? Where does all these jumpers come from?
Yeah.
Well, you're likely not going to have that again next year, because it was only a small room. So like you say, you weren't there.
Yep.
It was quite a small room. But how much did you have to do with it before you went away?
Actually, very little, to be honest. As I worked a little bit with the footy department and worked out what we wanted, but then I got the opportunity to head over with the football department, and Tony sort of steered the ship for us on the day. Yeah,
it went well. I think it was great. I think it started at the same time and all that. It wasn't a different room, so it wasn't in a locker room like the previous ones were, but it was in the room right next to the ground, overlooking the ground, next to the team store. Rather small, so it was rather crowded and got hot. However, it was really well set up and run. People were in and out within the hour, so it was actually really interesting.
Okay.
Being in there at 9 a.m. Well, we were there about 6:30.
I was going to say, or the night before.
Oh, next time it may have to be. So we were there at 6:30, and I was the fourth one in line, so it's going to have to be earlier. But no, so small little space, but obviously a lot less stuff going up for sale. Prices were still phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. So most things were just gone within the hour.
And that was one of the focuses of this sale, was to move it quickly and to get some cash back to the club. So we were really, really realistic with our prices and made it affordable for everyone.
Well, I guess that's the thing, right? You can price things higher, but the risk of that is you don't sell it,
Yes.
and you end up with a lot less money to get back into those jumpers on the day when you can be selling them later on, but you're not going to have that immediate hit of people in the door.
Correct.
So you're waiting on those people to come back, like myself, who come back quite a lot, but you
So
don't
we had
have...
all the regulars there that day. Dynamite Deal was there.
Dynamite Deal was in line. Jack was there, not hungover this time.
Right.
So all the regulars were there. I think there were a couple of people who couldn't make it. Unsure why.
Was Harry there?
Yes, Harry was there. Yep, said hello to Harry. I said hello to quite a few fans of the podcast as well, which was pretty cool.
Because you are bordering on celebrity status with the podcast now.
You can say that. I definitely can't. If I was celebrity status, I'd be getting more than $12 payment, but that's all right.
Right, okay.
But no, I do enjoy having a chat to a lot of new people, and actually it stopped me from searching from some of the stuff. And Em actually got really overwhelmed when she walked in the door as well, because we always go in with a plan.
Yes.
This time
game plan.
Yeah, we always have a game plan. Yeah,
quite defensive style.
pretty defensive.
Yeah.
Head down, bum up, and just don't look at anyone. Don't
And
talk
the
to
counter
anyone.
rebound's really important. So if someone puts something down, you straight away. There.
Absolutely. Oh, you have no idea.
Yeah.
So there was a couple of people. Bloke actually picked up a Monday Clash jumper, and I hadn't.
No, this is a true story, is it?
This is a true story.
Right.
So he picked up a Monday Clash, and I hadn't seen a Monday all day. So I was a bit debo on myself, and Em had noticed this Monday Clash jumper that this guy was holding, and he was looking rather sheepish, like he was didn't have enough money, or maybe he was trying to sell it to someone before he bought it. I don't know, but Em was on him like a hawk for about 20 minutes.
Right.
And he was going around the room, and she was just stalking him, waiting for him to put it down. Problem was he went up to the counter and bought it, so it was devastating. But so I hadn't got myself a Monday on the day. It wasn't until Jack came up to me and said, "Oh, how'd you go?" So Jack Gregory, this is. Said, "How'd you go? Hope you picked up a Monday." And I said to him, "Unfortunately, no, sadly I didn't. I missed out."
Yep.
And he said, good thing I picked one up for you, hey. So he handed me a Indigenous Monday.
Very good.
He's an absolute legend.
What
that
a
bloke.
ripper
So
bloke.
that's the good thing about the hobby as well, is we all look after each other.
Yep.
So the club looks after us
Yep.
massively in giving us this opportunity, and then we're able to look after each other as well, which is
that's
great.
Wonderful.
Yeah, we create good friends, and
Really good news.
yeah, we're going to organise a get together as well with some of the WA collectors, where we can all get together and show our collections, or just catch
that's
up for
great.
drinks and stuff as
Yeah,
well.
beautiful.
So the voice would be a great addition to
I'd
that.
love to be
So
I'd love to be there.
we'll definitely have him there. But no, we really enjoyed the mid-season sale, and it was a good reason for it, and it was good to have money go back to the club as well. And look forward to seeing the new AFLW jumpers.
Yeah.
I'm sure it'll be the same, but just new. It's just new.
It's new. It might possibly be a pride jumper next year.
Nice.
Possibly.
Very good.
Yes.
That not confirmed yet?
Not confirmed
Not
yet.
confirmed, all right.
Yeah,
It would be cool to see the pride jumper, actually. Has there ever been talks of an AFL, just an AFL pride jumper?
Not that I'm aware of.
Couldn't imagine what it would look like, to be honest. Because
I haven't heard of that.
you do the pink with the girls jumper, but I don't know how it would work on the men's, but
You're not aware of that one, is?
it'd be interesting to see.
Yeah.
I wouldn't actually mind seeing the numbers, like what St Kilda did.
Yes.
Rainbow numbers, that look pretty
Yeah.
cool. Actually, I've got a query about the numbers. This is a sequel query. So last year or previous years with ISC, the numbers were rather close.
Yes.
This year they're rather spread apart for the two numbered players, especially ones. So you've got ones, I'm just going to use Monday as an example, 1, 6, even 10.
Yeah.
The numbers quite spread apart. Was there any feedback on that at all, or has there been?
Not at all. Not at all.
Interesting.
It's the first sort of feedback we've had, but
There you go.
take it on board.
There you go.
I did have a bit of feedback about some of the players' jumpers looking a little bit stretched and distorted.
Yeah, okay.
But that's because they wear them simply so tight.
Yeah.
Almost like a compression garment. That's That's why.
Makes sense. I think a lot of people mention that as far as the colour looks different, but like you say, it's just because they're stretching them so far that that'll happen.
And we wanted to give Seacom the opportunity to have their own identity. We didn't want to match it and be exactly like ISC. We wanted it to be different. So there, that is true. There is definitely a different Pantone or shade to the purple.
I like
That was
it.
deliberate. So
I like the colour. It looks more old school purple.
yeah.
And I think a lot of people have mentioned that as well. It looks more your old original purple, which the retro jumper did as well. And I think a lot of people said, "Oh, it looks wrong," but then having it in hand, you're like, "Okay, yeah, no, this is awesome."
Yeah.
Really look forward to seeing a player's version of that. However, what is happening in the space of the players' jumpers?
They will, in some way, shape or form, be made available to our collectors. We felt we'd exhausted our auction platform over the last couple of months. 3 auctions in 2 months was just a lot.
Yep.
Particularly the amount of money that was being spent on it. So between now and Christmas, we'll auction them off.
Exciting.
Again, we'll let everyone know through our social channels
Yep.
what we do.
How exciting. And I can imagine they are going to go berserk as well.
We hope so.
Actually, while we're on the subject of auctions, the format changed for the auctions. Most clubs have done the same thing as what Freo has, where they've changed from, Sports TG into this new format.
So Sports TG changed their name probably 2 months ago to My Game Day.
Mm-hmm.
So they had a name change. Still exactly the same company running it for us. They've just refreshed the platform because it was a very aged and dated platform, both front of house but more so back of house as well. So what we see now is a more fresh, user-friendly, easier experience for both us back end and the people bidding.
Right. Because I noticed a lot of people were mentioning that aflauctions.com.au, which was the page that you'd go to and you'd see everybody's auctions at the time.
Yep.
It just disappeared. So everyone thought, it's just changed. And everyone's gone their own direction.
Yep.
So it's still the same
Still
mob.
the same.
Yeah. What challenges have you found with that? I mean, I think I've mentioned you a couple of times that, for instance, the timing of auctions, they're all staggered, which is a bit different to previous.
Yep.
I think at least the times ending are usually in the afternoon, whereas previously they were in the morning.
Yes.
So that's changed a bit.
Yep.
And I think at the moment, I don't know if it's still a thing, but they were just overriding the old auctions. So before you'd be able to go and see a result list of how much stuff sold for in previous auctions, but now you can't do that anymore because they're basically just copying over the old listings.
Yeah, you did actually mention that to me.
Yeah, so I do actually get that query a lot, like, oh, how did Michael Walters' Indigenous jumper go for $200 and things like that? And I'm like, well, I actually didn't.
It didn't. Yeah.
So, yeah.
In terms of the staggering and the start and finish dates, etc., was just sort of brought to our attention that we could capture a better response if we staggered our auctions. Previously, we had, however many auctions there were, 15 items or whatever it might have been, finishing all at exactly the same time. But if we stagger them, it gives people the opportunity who might have missed out on one to actually bid for another one because they're still live. That was the main reason for it. In terms of the time that it finishes, that was just a club decision to just try something different.
Yep.
To see if we get better responses at different times of the day.
I think it definitely worked.
Yep.
I think the staggering works as well. Like you say, gives everyone an opportunity to get one rather than miss out. Whereas previously I may have picked up 3 or 4 jumpers in one auction and gone, crap.
Yeah.
Whereas now I can pick one up early and I don't have to try and get another one later. Does work in the other direction as well, though, where if you miss out early, your chances are you're going to be spending a lot more later.
Yes.
So
that is,
a lot of people mention, how the hell did Darcy Tuckers go for over $1,000?
and that's probably why.
And that's the reason his jumper was the last jumper up for auction because of the stagger. But, I mean, give that opportunity to someone who missed out and they went, I just need one now.
Yep.
So they spent $1,000 on a jumper. So I think it works out both for the club. Definitely works out for the club and the collectors.
Yeah.
So I like the stagger. I didn't like it at first.
But you
I do now. I'm on board now. As long as it's not the jumpers at the end that I want. So I like the opportunity to get one later. So I had that problem with Starlight. I missed out on 4 auctions.
I remember you saying,
And luckily, Switkowski's was in the bottom 4 and still managed to pick him up cheaper. So I was stoked.
Like a little Jack Russell.
He really is. It just goes hardcore. Yeah, whip it. Yeah. Love seeing him in the midfield this week, actually. That was great. Yeah. No doubt he'll be there more in the future as well. COAs. So you guys have most of the time that I've been buying them anyway, have been club done COAs, club issued, rather than the AFLPA ones.
Yes.
I've always said that I prefer the club ones, and people haven't been on board with me throughout that. I think they are starting to now, though, because they're finding the AFLPA taking way too long.
Yep.
Why did you guys get into doing the club COAs?
It's just something we've always done from the get-go. It's our model that we prefer. So the way that we do it is we auction one jumper off and we give the other one to the player, which they've agreed to doing. So we just control it more in-house than using the AFL Players Association.
There's also a cost involved, right?
Yes, there is.
It's like $20 a COA, something
Correct.
like that. Yeah,
correct.
And then you have to wait. So there was a period of time where and they're finding it a lot now. So Collingwood fans get up quite a lot actually, where they're buying or winning the auctions and they're waiting 3, 4, 5 months at a time for their jumpers to come through.
Yep.
Because the AFLPA just taking so long to get them, and
Yep.
so a lot of the clubs, a lot of the collectors are asking clubs, can we go to club COAs because it's just crazy to wait that long. So I think the model you guys had has worked really well.
We actually do have a refreshed certificate of authenticity. I think the traditional ones that you've had, I've had for about 10 or 15 years.
Yeah.
Actually said Fremantle Oval on the bottom of the certificate. Well,
Oh,
they've
yeah,
come to an
true.
end. So I've just got some new ones in during the week, so they're all fresh and updated. So the next
Nice.
time you bid online, you'll get one of our new certificates of
How
authenticity.
exciting.
It's a small thing, Cess.
It is. I've never even noticed that. So, yeah, that is exciting now. So, definitely going to have to win one of the retros.
Yeah. So we're just about done.
I think we're just about done. So, in the background, we've got a score update for you.
Jeez, I haven't even had a look.
Third quarter, 17 minutes remaining. Brisbane's now up 23. I've been watching this game go up and down.
Right.
West Coast have been hanging in there.
Right.
I did not expect it after the amount of people they've had
They're in
to
it to
come
win
out.
it, but hopefully they lose.
No harm for the West Coast fans out there.
I'm sure there's a few.
There are, yep.
Don't like to mention names, but Harry.
Correct. Interesting jumpers they're wearing there too, which we won't get into. But they're wearing the gold, which is not usual this year.
Right. You're absolutely right. Extraordinary.
But very interesting times ahead. As you mentioned, we're excited for next year's retro design. We're excited for the upcoming end of season sale. Any time that you're thinking at the moment?
It'll obviously depend on what happens over the weekend, but if we're fortunate to keep playing footy, then we'll push it out. But if we're not and we finish up, it'll probably be in the next 3 or 4 weeks. I would have thought we'll get it over and done.
Beauty.
Quickly.
As long as it's not the 16th of October, we should be fine.
Yes. Had to think about that.
We'll all be hungover that day if that's the case. Well, we have mentioned, though, Em said that if it does happen the day after our wedding, we will be going, and I will be wearing my suit and she'll be wearing her dress. So,
and I'll probably still be wearing what I...
yeah, exactly. So you can rock up still wearing your well, whatever you end up at the end of the night. So ready to cut a rug anyway.
Cut a rug.
Well, that's it, Craig.
That's a wrap.
I'm excited. I'm stoked to have you in here.
Yeah, it's been good.
I think we're going to watch some footy now.
Yes.
I got some movie to go watch tonight, The Free Guy. So
very good.
sure you're going to go home and ice up your foot a bit.
Yes. Yes, it's actually rather sore.
Yeah. But no, it's been great having you back here for Voice episode
Sorry it's been
3.
so long. Wow.
Hey, it's been great. It's a great little, I think it's a good little mix up.
Thank you.
But no, it's great to have you back.
Excellent.
And we'll have you back for Voice number 4 very soon.
With Craig Callahan.
Yeah. Get in here, Craigo. Thanks, Craig.
Thank you.
Okay, full disclosure here. This is nearly 3 weeks, Craigo, after we did the interview in studio.
Yeah, I think it went for about 54 minutes as well. So
It
it was
did.
quite a lengthy chat.
Yeah.
And then I was halfway home and realised that we didn't ask probably one of the most, well, not important, but interesting questions of the whole pod. But anyway.
Well, it's definitely
We're
most
back.
important. The funny thing is you tried to bring it up to me multiple times, and I just kept shushing you, basically. No, don't ask that.
Pretty much.
Don't talk about
Pretty
that
much.
yet. We'll get to it. And then, because it was such a interesting interview where it wasn't planned. It was you're on the way and you said, let's do an interview while we're there. And I said, you beauty. So I started writing questions when you were on the way and you got here, and I hadn't written down the last question. And I said, I'll be right. I'll just remember that one. Stupid me, just completely forgot to ask it. And I couldn't believe it. We got to the end and I just thought, I'm missing something here, but no, we must be good. Move
And
on.
here it is. Yeah.
And then I think you got
Yeah,
halfway
no.
home and I was like, oh, Jesus, I completely forgot the most important question.
I,
So,
yeah. But here we are.
Here we are.
3 weeks on.
So now we get to ask it. But I do have a couple of follow-up questions because I've had heaps of
Okay.
people messaging me about a couple of things that we can ask you while you're here.
Okay.
But the first things first.
Okay.
So we've talked about everything that's happened in 2020 and then the start of 2021, but we didn't actually talk about your role now. So it's changed a lot. So it's not only are you still the team store manager, but your role has evolved. Tell us how much it's evolved and what you're now doing at the club.
Well, it's been an interesting probably 12 months. The role that I would have normally done on a match day at Optus, being more in the corporate sort of things, didn't get that opportunity this year because of COVID and everything that surrounded that. So I didn't potentially have a match day role, and I went to our property manager, Paulie, about a month before the season started, and I just sort of said to him, look, if any opportunity can come up where I can help you guys out on a match day, would really like the opportunity. And he sort of spoke to the general manager of footy, and one thing led to the other, and then I found myself working in the footy department on match days, helping out with property. So that was the beginning of what was ahead for the next sort of 6 to 8 months after that. And then got the opportunity to do an away game, which was the Collingwood game 3 or 4 months ago. Went over for the Collingwood game, and it was good to get away. First away trip that I'd done in my whole time at the club, and it was a really good opportunity. And then came back, and we were into day one of quarantine, and got a phone call from the footy manager to say, pack your bags, we're heading back over east again, and we don't know how long we're going to go for, but it's better than you being in quarantine in your apartment. So yeah, hopped on an aircraft and went away and was over there for 2 weeks, which was a really, really awesome experience. It was such a great experience to get to know people more deeply, some of the coaches I'd never really spoken to before, and a lot of the playing group, and obviously being in that environment where 24/7 you're together, it's a really good opportunity to have, and made the most of it, and did the Western Bulldogs game and then the Hawthorn game in Tassie, which was Fifey's milestone game. So that was really, really good experience for me. Probably the highlight of my year, to be honest.
Would have been just a totally different thing. Especially when you came back at that one day and you're off again. The procedure around the whole COVID thing. So what was the procedure there? You weren't allowed to go out and do anything. Did they pick you up in a bus?
No.
Or?
So the first game was relatively normal, where we took all of the property sort of to the cargo area, and then we went into the terminal and boarded like a normal aircraft. But then the second time we were pretty much taken tarmac to the side of the aeroplane where we got off the bus and sort of went up, and it was all complete quarantine, so we could have no interaction. It was a chartered flight, and I'm sure you've seen all the photos on social media, but we were one row West Coast, one row Fremantle, and we went over east together. But yeah, it was really interesting. And when we were over there, it wasn't a complete quarantine bubble as such. We were allowed a little bit of freedom where we could sort of go out. We were sort of right on Chapel Street near the MCG, and there was a nice sort of park near that. So we're allowed to go out and have a bit of fresh air and do things, but not really encouraged to go out in large gatherings, or pretty much what we had here as well. So, 2 weeks of that over there. Yeah.
So I'm sure you can put a few rumours to bed. Was there any conversation and interactions between Freo and West Coast on that flight? I mean, people were saying that there was no conversation at all between Freo and West Coast players. Surely there would have been.
Oh,
right?
look, I was right up. I was 2 rows from the very back, and I pretty much slept the whole way going there. But I think there was a little bit of banter between some of the players. I mean, obviously, some of them have known each other for a long time, but I can't really comment too much here because I was stuck right at the back. But yeah, I'd say there would have been a little bit of chat to and fro, especially like Sonny and Nick Natanui, who know each other really well.
Yeah. So, it would be interesting to hear stories about them playing poker together. I reckon that would have been pretty cool.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
No doubt.
Exactly, yes.
No doubt.
But, and who knows where this is going to lead for me, but certainly enjoyed this year, and hopefully if I get the opportunity again next year, just to sort of broaden my skill set a bit and do different things at the club.
Yeah, absolutely. So you say that when you went over to Melbourne, you got to know a bit more about the players and coaches and things like that. Like, it would have been a totally different experience for you. Obviously, being in the team store, guys would come to you with, I've got an order of a jumper or a hat or whatever. There's obviously a bit more personal level when you go over there together.
Exactly. I mean, obviously, being at the club for as long as I have, and the more sort of senior guys I know a little bit better. But the majority of footy and the players, mate, as you say, it's just very surface level, come in and get whatever they need, and that was it. But, yeah, to be over there and, yeah, as I said before, to spend 24 hours a day more or less together in the same hotel and, just get to know people really, really well. And such a good group of people as well. It was really, really, really good experience. People like David Hale and Joel Corey. I've never really had anything to do with these guys, and then to spend some time with them, it's good, man. Good opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm very excited about Bob Murphy coming over. That'll be really cool, actually.
Yeah, it kind of came by surprise. I didn't really hear anything of it until pretty much the media got hold of it, which was midweek. So hopefully he can bring something new to the table. And I'm not sure he's ever done anything to that caliber before, but I'm sure he's got some really good qualities and traits that'll put him in good stead to do a good job.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned Fifey's 200th, and you were in the rooms. I was watching the game, of course, and I seen you were standing there. I'm not sure who you were having a chat with, but you were having a chat as they all came in. It must have been incredible, but in the rooms after Fifey's 200, everyone's up and about because they've just had a good win. Tell us about what it was like being in the rooms, and then afterwards, what it was like.
Well, it was pretty interesting, the fact that where we played, which was Utah, such a really, really small ground and small change rooms, if you like. It was almost like being at an amateur footy club, if you like. There was no sort of different areas where you normally have massage and medical and property. It was all sort of just one little room, so very intimate and pokey, and it was a great experience. I think Nat's family were there as well, which was really good, and we sort of made him have a celebration that he wouldn't forget, and then pretty much we had 45 minutes to get everything ready, get on the bus, and then go tarmac and get on the plane back home. So it's pretty rushed.
Yeah, not much time for celebration, really.
We had to wait, I think, about an hour and a half, 2 hours, because each individual piece of luggage had to be weighed before it went on the aircraft. So we were there for a long time before we got going. But we got going, probably 2 or 3 hours after we should have. So
did you come straight? Well, obviously you would have gone through Melbourne first, but then did you come straight back to Perth?
No, it was a direct flight. So we left straight from Tasmania back to Perth. Yeah, Hawthorn went back. The aircraft was pretty much side by side to us. So.
Okay. I didn't even know they did direct
go
flights.
via Melbourne. I don't think they normally do, but because it was chartered, they got us going. And
makes sense.
Again, like the first flight going over, I slept the whole way home. So,
well, it's good because it would have been a long flight, so good to sleep through it.
Yeah, and I think we got home just in the nick of time, because if it had been any longer, I think the status would have changed from, I think it was green to red, which meant we would have had to quarantine. So we got home by the skin of our teeth without having to quarantine.
Yeah, it's bloody lucky. All right, Craig. So a couple of quick little follow-up questions here from, obviously, we had a chat a couple of weeks ago and the guys are all hearing it now, but a couple of little follow-up questions because I've had a lot of text messages and SMSs with people wanting to know a couple of things. One is the end-of-season sale still going ahead, and when would it be?
Still definitely going ahead, so that I can let everybody know. It's definitely going to go ahead. Whether or not we're going to have as much stuff as we had previously, not sure yet, but we'll certainly have a little bit to offer. Obviously, with the mid-season sale, took a little bit away from what we might have normally had, but looking at doing it the second week of October.
Right. So that's
the second weekend of October.
So that's the week before my wedding, I hope.
It is, but I didn't do it the week of, because that would be really rude if we did, because I think it's the same day. So
beautiful.
Second week of October is what we're thinking is.
All right, awesome. That sounds good. That's not the same weekend as my Bucks either, so that'd be beautiful.
Yep.
All right, so still going ahead. Everyone's excited about it. Is it going to be in the locker room or is it going to be upstairs again? Because it is obviously going to be quite small.
We will do it downstairs without doubt. It just gives that extra little bit of feel to people coming down. So, standard locker room style as the previous 2 or 3. Is it 2 or 3 now? 2. 2.
In 2020.
This will be our third.
This will be third, yeah. Yep.
Third, yeah.
Oh, fourth if you count mid-season.
And I know we've had a lot of people ask about what's going to be in there, just not only from your podcast, but also just general punters. So the aim is to have both home, away, Indigenous Guernseys what's left, and most importantly the retro Guernseys as well. We've had a lot of hype about that, so
okay. So
we'll put them in the locker room.
That was one of my other questions, because I've had an
thought it
insane
might have been.
amount of questions about the retros. Is it
thought
still
it might
going to
have
be auction, or are they just all going to go in the sale now?
We're just going to put them in the sale.
Oh, beauty.
We tried to think about the best way to do it, and the easiest way to give everyone opportunity is to slap them in the locker room
Cool.
and get what we can for them.
Beautiful. Well, that makes me very happy, because
Yeah.
with a wedding the week after, I'm going to be very broke this year. So I'm still planning. I'm not planning on how I'm going to afford my wedding. I'm planning on how I'm going to afford as many jumpers as I possibly can.
And unfortunately, we don't offer Afterpay, Zip Pay, or any of the above.
Yes, I have been looking at ways I can work around that. But yes. Okay. So
Very good.
no, that's awesome to know. Everyone will be really happy to hear that, and I'll finally get people off me back now. So yeah.
Hopefully you don't have a list as long as your arm about people asking you to get used footballs, match shorts, socks, shorts, and everything in between.
Yeah.
But
No doubt I'll get
you
a
generally
few.
try and
Yeah. It is what it is. I expect it being the Freo man or the go-to, but I was just handball.
the
them
Lord
off.
Mayor of Guernseys, really.
Love it. Well, again, look, another question. I mean, it's not really going to be an answer that we'll probably be hoping for if you're an interstater, but any thoughts or plans on interstate fans at the moment for the sale?
In terms of how we do it.
Yeah.
Look, we've learnt from the last couple of years that there's definitely people out there that want it, that are over east, and our comment is we need to invest some time and thought into how we can help them out as best as we can. So I've probably got 20 to 30 people that have asked what they can have, and some people's expectations, if I'm being open on this podcast, is unrealistic, because as you can imagine, they'd like a Nat 5 or one of those more senior players. So look, we're not able to fulfill everyone's needs in terms of their first preferences, but our goal this year is to satisfy everybody that wants something, to give them something. Some people is really easy, as they just want a football or some shorts. No problems, we can help them out with that.
Mm-hmm.
But those people that want the harder ones, it's going to be a little bit challenging. But our goal is to give everyone what they want, and limit it to 2 Guernseys per person.
Mm-hmm.
We think that's fair, and try and do it that way. As I said, we've got 20 or 30 people on our list already that we'll activate as soon as we know. At this stage, I don't really know exactly what we've got yet. I've still got to get some stuff off Paul from downstairs and then catalogue it all and work out what we've got. But between yourself and me and a few others, I'm sure we can try and help. The likes of Vita, shout out to Vids again.
Yep.
And all those people over east as well, who are probably doing it really tough at the moment. We get that a lot. They've been particularly in New South Wales, been in lockdown for a number of weeks now, and Melbourne the same. So we'll try our best to help those people that are doing it tough over there.
Yeah. So, yeah, obviously we'll help out as much as we can. Obviously the footy club will help you guys as much as we can. I will as well. But please don't take a non-response or I'm sorry, I can't help you as us being personally against you, because we will do our best. But unfortunately, like Craig said, the arm is only so long, and we will have a lot of queries. So we'll try as best as we can, but unfortunately can't help everybody. But so when you said they're thinking about doing a 2 per person max, are you talking about Fife and Mundies?
Just in general, just 2 Guernseys in general. We think that's fair. But yeah, again, if there's people out there that have a desire to get a few more, perhaps we can look at that after the conclusion of the locker room sale, where we normally have some jumpers left. And I know we've done that for people before as well. Yep. So again, it's going to happen each and every year, and it's no hidden secret. We just hope that there's people out there that don't take advantage of the locker room sale and try and flip them as soon as we have the locker room sale that afternoon. They're on eBay, Gumtree, Marketplace. We really hope that's not the case, but we know it will be. But we can just hope that people respect what we offer and don't abuse it.
That's right. I mean, there were.
I know it's not going. I know it's not going to happen, because we see it happen year in, year out. But just be nice if people could just be a little bit more mindful of that.
Yeah, there were a couple of people not complaining, but showing a little bit of disappointment of people taking stuff and selling them straight away when on that same day. They're complaining they're complaining that they missed out, and then they're seeing the same things on Gumtree, but they're complaining on Instagram. But I mean,
and
you can't do.
And we
much.
know who the people are, but we know who the people are, but we can't do much. Exactly right. So, but as I said, you guys know who you are out there that do the flipping. Just be respectful for everybody.
Yeah, and just on the point you said about everyone can't get a 5, I went to the mid-year sale, and if it wasn't for a very kind collector, I would have missed out on a Mundy. And I'm the biggest Mundy fan you'll find. So it's not it's not easy. Even for people who are there, it's not easy to get what you want. So expecting to get something when you can't be there it's really almost impossible. Like I didn't get a 5, and I did miss out on a Mundy if I wasn't lucky. But yeah. So there you go. I mean, I was third in line, so I wouldn't expect that you'd be able to get something that high quality caliber if you're unable to make it. Just as sad as it is, but the club will definitely look after you with what they can for sure.
Yep.
I'm excited for the
retros.
That's about a wrap. Indeedly doodly. Well, thank you, Craigo, for fixing me up there.
It's been a pleasure.
I appreciate it. And we'll definitely get you back for the Voice Part 4 and hopefully with a special guest.
I don't really like to mention names, but Craig Callaghan, I don't like to mention names, but Callas, if you're listening, let's make this happen. 2 Craigs are better than 1.
Absolutely. And between you, you played quite a lot of footy too.
Yeah, you're right. I've never played one game of AFL, but no, you're right. There's a lot of games of football. Very good.
Awesome.
Very
Thanks,
good.
Craig. I appreciate you.
No worries, yes. You have a good night, mate.
You too, mate. Cheers.
See you, mate. Bye.
There you go. That was our interview with Craig Evans, The Voice, Part 3. What a voice it is. He's an absolute champion. Gotta love the bloke. He'll be attending my wedding in the next 4 weeks. Can't wait to have him there. Unfortunately, he won't be at my Bucks party because he'll be attending the Doig Medal. But, it's going to be a great wedding, no doubt. Can't wait for it. There will be a special guest at the wedding, not just Craig, but another Fremantle identity as well. No doubt there'll be plenty of photos on the page for you all to enjoy once the wedding happens. But, thank you very much, Craig. Love the bloke. He's a really good friend of mine. He's done a lot of favours for me over the years. Honestly, there's no way I could repay him for what he's done for me. Being a collector, it's the type of bloke you want in your life, and even just as a general human being, he's an absolute legend, and I couldn't thank him enough for always being there and helping me out with everything. So thank you, Craig, and I hope you guys really enjoyed that as much as I enjoy talking to Craig, having him in for the first live interview in studio. Stoked to be able to finally do that. It's been a long time since the studio has been built now, or a few months now, and first time I finally been able to get someone in here. So it was good. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and hopefully, as Craig said, we can get Craig Callaghan. We've been trying for a while now, but COVID stuffed that up and haven't been able to get him out. But hopefully we can get him in and get the voice back in. He can be my co-host with the show. I'd love that. That'd be great fun. But cheers, Craig. We appreciate you as always. Thank you very much for coming on. So as you heard during the interview, it is sales season coming up very shortly. It'll be very interesting to see who does the sales. Obviously, Fremantle haven't announced it yet, but this is an exclusive here for everybody. I feel like scoops when I say that, but a bit of an exclusive in that the Fremantle Dockers sale will be on the Saturday, the 9th of October. Really excited for that, of course. And I don't know what other clubs will do it or how they'll do it. There are obviously most clubs or most states are in lockdown, or I don't really know as far as what they can do with their retail stores opening at this point, whether they'll maybe do some online ones. Fair chance that there'll be a couple of clubs will auction off their jumpers. I know Collingwood do that in the past, so they'll potentially do the same thing. Hopefully, we actually do see quite a few sales happen, because that will obviously keep the money flowing throughout the clubs as well. So it's a huge opportunity for them. So hopefully they continue to do that. And I mean, clearly there's a lot of clubs out there who haven't done it as much as others or at all. So we'd really love to see that. And of course, the opportunity in the next few weeks for some grand final jumpers. Will be extremely interesting to see how high they go. The Richmond ones went insane last year. The Bulldogs ones in 2016 went for about $3,000 to $4,000 for the match-worn stuff. Obviously, some of the higher-ended players went for much higher. So it will be super interesting if they do win, how much it changes. So being that we've had this huge boom since COVID started, how much those prices will change, whether they'll boom or they'll continue around about the same. Will be super interesting to find out. If Melbourne wins, I can just about guarantee that there will be a brand new car value-wise if you would like to purchase one. So, yeah, start saving your pennies or start selling up pretty quickly because they're going to be very expensive. But, of course, if they have a good win, 50 or 60 odd years of not having a grand final of victory behind them, they will go nuts. And there'll be a lot of corporations will be purchasing them as well. So, yeah, it won't be easy to get your hands on one, but fingers crossed for you, you're able to. Obviously, all the Melbourne hardcore lads out there, or the hardcore 4, really hope you guys are able to get one each. Did I say 4? Hardcore 3. Can't even remember now. Hardcore Trio, of course. Melbourne Hardcore Trio. Hopefully you guys are all able to get at least one. I know Dave will be aiming for 2 because that's what he does. But yeah, fingers crossed for everybody out there to get what you want. Speaking of what we want, I'll continue to do what I actually picked up in the last, 2.5 weeks since our last episode. So I just had a look, obviously, before I started recording. And I just said to my mate Dean Freitas, who have been messaging me, the Freight Train, and he said he's slowed down quite a bit, but he's just got the bug back again. I said, yeah, I've slowed down a fair bit as well. And, I mean, that's pretty true. I have. But I have also picked up 11 jumpers in the last 2.5 weeks, plus a couple of other items as well. So, for me, that is a little bit slow. I did pick up 6 in one, 4 in one. So, yeah, 11 jumpers is still a pretty good effort, I think. But, I definitely have slowed down a little bit. Let's go through them, shall we? So, the first one I got was the 2020 Josh Begley Essendon Bombers Dreamtime at Darwin. Or Dreamtime in Darwin? At Darwin? Can't remember which way around that is. Dreamtime in Darwin. There you go. That's a player issue Bombers jumper. Beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. Once I organised the trade for that, I noticed that quite a few people had them or were selling them, so they obviously were available. Probably fairly cheap-ish for what they are. Beautiful. Gorgeous design. There's no way I was passing up on getting one of those. Next thing I got was an Anthony Tolliver. Name won't ring a bell to you at all because this is an NBA jersey to continue my NBA collection. Phoenix Suns 2014 Anthony Tolliver game-worn jersey. Then I got a 2020 Lockie Young Western Bulldogs player issue Bulldogs jumper, who is now at the Kangaroos. Next thing I got was a 2016 Mark Lacroix West Coast Eagles player issue home jumper. Beautiful design. Had to get another Eagles jumper back in the collection. But as always, whenever I get an Eagles jumper in the collection, somebody wants it much more than probably I do. I can't blame him because obviously being a West Coast fan, you probably would want it more than a Freo fan would. But this one has to stay in the collection for at least a little while because I'm not 100% sure the person who gave it up to me really did want to give it up. So it will certainly stay in my collection for a while. But I do not want to get rid of it anyway because it's such a great design and beautiful jumper. I wanted to keep it for a while. So we'll see what happens. Rambo, you are first on the list. Don't you worry, pal. I finally got my DeMarcus Cousins jersey. Sacramento Kings 2015-2016 DeMarcus Cousins game-worn home jersey. Beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. I love it. Obviously being a Sacramento Kings man, super stoked to finally have one. If you'll remember the ordeal I had with a Kings jersey before, hopefully you are as happy as I am that I finally was able to pick one up. There are 2 huge items that I got, but I will come back to them at the end because they deserve recognition more than I can give to you at this very second. I did talk about the Peel Thunder Nidoc jumper that I got previously. That one was Connor Blakely's, and I missed out on the Hayden Young. Well, I was lucky enough that the person who won that bid, and as I suspected, was a fake bidder. I guessed that because it jumped from 150 to 500 with a couple of seconds to go, and I thought that was a bit crazy. And the guy's name, the gentleman or person's name, was Mark Hunt. Correct. So I contacted Peel Thunder straight away and just said there's a fair chance that this is a fake bid, and if it is, any chance you can please contact me when they don't pay. Took about 3 or 4 weeks or so, and they did contact me and said, yeah, we've given him enough opportunity. He hasn't responded to any messages, so it is all yours. So, yeah, beauty. I picked it up for $150, and I'm absolutely stoked to add it to their collections. As Hayden Young is going to be an absolute superstar. Cannot wait to see him in the midfield in the next year or two. It's going to be an absolute gun who's already a tremendous user of the footy, probably up there in the second behind Dave Mundy is probably our best user of the footy. So cannot wait to see his future. And then picked up another 4 Fremantle jumpers, 2013 jumpers, all home. Alex Silvani, Paul Duffield, Gary Gibbetson, and Alex Howson. And I'll be honest, I have no idea who Alex Howson is or was. No clue. Did not even know he was on our list. So there you go. But 4 great jumpers, obviously from a grand final year as well. And I didn't actually have any short sleeve 2013 home jumpers in the collection until now. I only had long sleeve Dave Mundy. So surprising. So I'm glad I did actually check that back in the collection. I also had a trade deal with Nick Fine. Oh, mate, Nick, I'm not going to try and say your last name. I will stuff it up. Thankfully, you know who you are. But Nick was after a 2021 Indigenous Clash jumper, the white Indigenous Clash Freo jumper. I happened to have a couple. I had Alex Pearce. I also had Adam Chera as well, and Andy Brayshaw. I had 3, as a matter of fact. And I did sell the Adam Chera pretty much as soon as he decided to leave us. I wanted him out of my collection. I still have 5 or 6 of his jumpers, so I can't really say that. But I was lucky enough to have a couple more, so I got rid of that one. And I had the Alex Pearce as well. And, of course, Nick was after one of these. Fantastic designs, beautiful jumpers. They went quite high on the auctions, so it wasn't easy to get one. And he organised a trade with me for a 1994 Brisbane Bears Chris Scott long sleeve, which is beautiful, gorgeous. It's obviously Chris's first season in the AFL. I believe he won the Rising Star Award that year, potentially. I could be wrong, but it is an absolutely beautiful jumper, and I appreciate that, Nick. It is very happy to be in the collection, in the cabinets right beside me. So, yeah, stoked to have that one. Thank you very much, Nick, for that. And today I managed to pick up my number 50 David Mundy jumper. So 50 has hit the collection. It is, well, what I just talked about, as a matter of fact, the 2021 Indigenous Clash jumper. So the story with this jumper is the winner of the jumper from the auction, they paid around about $2,000 and they got the jumper in the mail and they brought it back to the club and said that they didn't want it because the signature, David must have slipped as he signed it. And it's a little bit skew-if, but to be perfectly honest, I've got worse from Dave when he signed them in front of me, and they're way worse than this. So I was quite surprised. So they returned that jumper to the club. Thankfully, they did play in that jumper twice, and David did not take his jumper. So normally they would take one, and the club would keep the other. But David doesn't tend to take all of his jumpers anymore. He decided not to take the second jumper, and so the club still had that. So they gave that second match worn to person who won the auction. I was lucky enough to pick up this one today. So this one was the one that actually got sold for about $2,000, but I did not pay that much, thankfully. Huge shout out to Craig Evans and Tony Godden at the Fremantle Football Club for that, of course. And obviously picking up a number 50 David Mundy was high on the list. There is still one that I'm trying to pick up, and we'll see what happens. I don't want to push my luck, so we'll see what happens. I would love to get it, and as I've said, you will be the first to know if I do manage to get my hands on it. I will put it on the Playerish Podcast Facebook page first before anybody else sees it. Now, I've missed an NBA jersey here before we continue on to the last 2 that I picked up. I've got a 2011-12 Omer Asik. It's a super hard name to say. I probably got it wrong. Omer Asik. Anyway, Chicago Bulls home jersey, game worn as well. And this thing is massive. I thought the Kristaps Porzingis one was big. This one is huge. He's a big boy. I'm not sure exactly how tall he is. I think he's around about 7'3", 7'4", something like that. Huge lad, and the jersey is gigantic. So, yeah, finally happy to finally get a hold of a Chicago Bulls one. I actually purchased it about 3 months ago, and that's how long it took to get here from the US. So I did think it was going to be lost, to be perfectly honest, but it did arrive. So, yes, super happy that it finally came. Now, the last 2 that I got, I have had a James Crawford 1987 Perth Wildcats jersey in my collection for a little while now. Picked it up off a gentleman selling it because he won it at the Gala auction back in 1987, and they were downgrading all their stuff. So I was very lucky to pick it up. Super lucky. Now, Rob Lee. Now, you'll remember Rob Lee. He was a previous guest not too long ago, has a serious NBA collection, just a serious collection in general. But, of course, his NBA stuff is just absolutely insane. He's wanted this James Crawford for a little while, and he asked, I don't know if it was tongue-in-cheek or not, but he was asking what it would take to get a hold of that jersey. And I said if he found me a Ricky Grace jersey, then he could have it. Now, I wasn't joking. Dead serious. I've always been after a Ricky Grace. I was mates with Ricky Grace for some time. He used to come into the place where I used to work, and he'd drink quite a lot. My brother actually crashed his car, which is another story for another day. But so I was lucky enough to be mates with him for quite some time. We have unfortunately not seen each other for a few years now, pretty much since my brother passed away. So. But still, an absolute legend of the Australian Basketball League, or the NBL, and I was just really super hopeful that I'd ever find one. I know Hayden Ferguson has got a serious collection of Ricky Grace and Wildcats jerseys in general, but I haven't seen any others other than that, so I didn't think there would be any possibility of ever picking one up. Well, Rob Lee is that type of legend, and clearly he knows his stuff and where to get it from. He's pulled out this almighty jersey, which fair chance is not worn. It looks like it might have been the unworn player issue, but it's still a Ricky Grace player issue. That's all I care about. It's absolutely beautiful, and it will be extremely rare, probably only the second of 2 jerseys. So it's super, super rare, and you don't see all-star jerseys come up very often at all. So this one is the 1997 NBL All-Star Game, Ricky Grace. Player issue jersey. So amazing jersey. I believe if there were any retails of these jerseys, they would have been the mesh material. This one's a completely different material. So that's the way you can tell it is player issue, which is really super, super cool. He also offered me a 1999 Andrew Vlahov Pro Cut Perth Wildcats jersey as well, exactly the same as they wore on court. I've never seen any of these jerseys hit retail ever. I believe, again, that they were mesh material if they were released to retail. I've never, ever seen this satin-ish look material before. So, I don't know. It could be a player issue. I'm not too sure. But I don't know. It's amazing. The jersey itself, absolutely amazing. You need to jump on my AFL Guernsey collection page and have a look at it if you haven't seen it at all, because both of these jerseys are incredible. And Andrew's actually signed this one front and back as well. So amazing jerseys. I was all too happy to have to swap that with Rob Lee for the 1987 James Crawford, which is an amazing set. The shorts and the top as well. But to have these 2 jerseys in my collection, there's no way I was passing up. It's amazing. Thank you very much to Rob for the opportunity. That's what I've picked up in the last 2.5 weeks. All right, let's just quickly go over what I've seen on eBay very recently, obviously the last 2.5 weeks. So it's actually not too much, thankfully. So this will be a fairly quick little exit before we get out of here today. First thing I saw was a Liam Henry Fremantle Dockers Clash 2021 go for $140. A Adam Chera Indigenous 2021 home jumper went for $300. Pretty cheap for what it is. That design is incredible. There have been quite a few go up on eBay, but not the quality of Adam Chera. So $300 is probably not a bad value at all. A 2013 player issue Collingwood Heath Shaw went for $170. Probably a little bit lower than I expected, to be honest. I didn't even consider bidding on it because I thought it would go much higher. A GWS Toby Green training jumper, a really cool looking jumper actually, went for $337. St Kilda's Robert Harvey, 2008 player issue home jumper, went for $405. I've actually got the same jumper and probably won't be leaving my collection for any time in the near future. A 2000 North Melbourne Kangaroos player issue, number 42, went for $255. Gold Coast Suns 2012 match-worn player issue Clash, Jared Harbrow went for $285. This one was a surprise. Carlton Blues Cade Simpson 2006 player issue match-worn jumper went for $260. Super cheap, super cheap. So I believe Heath picked that one up. So well done, Heath. That's a fantastic score. There's another one that I was super keen to bid on. I didn't, unfortunately. I had to hold on to the pennies a little bit. I did have to spend a little bit on the wedding this week, so I hold on to the pennies for this one. But it was tempting. A 2000 AFL umpire match-worn shirt. Michael Avon, number 27. Really cool design. I love it. I believe it's the Ansett design. I don't know if it's correct or not, but looks like it follows on from the Ansett Cup, etc. $152.50 that went for. This one was incredible. Without provenance, it's really hard to understand how certain things like this go so high, but there you go. It is what it is. Essendon Bombers, 1984, number 4, match worn. Like I say, it's super hard to actually prove it's match worn, but yep, is what it is. If someone wants to take that chance, then yeah, go for your life. This one sold for an incredible $2,550. One of those ones that'll be interesting to see if it actually gets paid for. So fingers crossed for the seller that actually does happen. And last one I have seen or has sold recently is a Hawthorn Hawks player issue Luke Bruce jumper. Went for $312. Now what's currently on eBay, still the Fitzroy Football Club 1996 reenactment whole outfit. So the top and the knickerbockers up there for $2,400. The Richmond Tigers 2020 Grand Final Shea Bolton jumper is still there for $25,000 or best offer. So if you've got a few pennies, chuck them out that jumper. It's pretty lovely. So I'll be surprised if it does stay for too long. Obviously not going to go for $25,000, but yeah, I'd love to see what actually happens to it. Western Bulldogs sample warm-up top. So these interesting samples. They have Brad Johnson's name on them, but they're also number 25. So obviously, I think it's Cougar. Could be wrong here. I believe it's Cougar. No, it's Diodora, actually. So Diodora must have been using number 25 as their sample number. And they used Johnson, probably just because it's Brad Johnson, and why wouldn't you? It's currently up there for $65 with 3 days left. There's a 2019 Essendon Anzac Day player issue jumper, currently at $207.50 with a day and 19 hours to go. There's a long sleeve Anthony McDonald Tip and Woody ISC jumper. So Essendon's ISC, $247.50 with 19 hours left. So by the time we get this up, it'll probably be about 17 hours to go. So jump on that if you get the chance. And last one, it's got 19 hours left on it as well, is a Fremantle Dockers 2021 Joel Weston player issue. Yeah, more than likely player issue Freo jumper. Sitting at $122.50. And Joel Weston actually sent me $749 today. So thank you, Joel. He was buying his mate a PS5. So good on you, Joel. That is it. That is all I have seen or is currently on eBay of note. No doubt there are some more. So make sure you're checking it constantly so you don't miss out on any good stuff. Like we said, grand final next week. Extremely exciting. I can't wait for it myself. That's interesting because I was trying to start my end music and I did that. So clearly that's ironic because I pressed the sad trombone and that was very sad. So anyway, it's time to get out of here. I think you've all had enough of listening to me rant on and rave, and I need to get it up so you can actually have a listen to it. So that's going to do it. If you'd like to be on the show, make sure you let us know. We'll see how we go, getting you on the next episode or an episode in the future. Let's see if we can get one up before the wedding. Probably not, but we'll see how we go. Anyway, thanks a lot. Have a good one. Good night, and see you later.